Um, like I was just saying, this is something that I debated the other day. There was a meme that was going on one of the blogs and Facebook page, and I read my own interpretation into it. I realized after kind of having to research my own comments, and but it still brought up a concept, and we'll get to that even later, which I'd never seen before, which was really interesting for me because of it's funny how these. One of the things that's really cool about doing these videos is they make me research more, because if I have a particular theme like water, wet, moisture, then I'll kind of go look for water, wet, moisture, and I'll remember links. I'll look at my links, or I'll do a Terry Scant chase, whatever. So anyway, here's what happened. Fenn says, well, I started collecting things in 1982 when I had cancer and thought I was going to die. That's when I got this idea to hide the treasure chest. Now, he doesn't mean collecting anything, because we know he was collecting things as a child. That's when I got this idea to hide the treasure chest. Why not let everybody else have as much fun as I've had over the many years? And that was my motivation. So I think he meant I started collecting stuff to put in the treasure chest in 1982. So you bought the chest right around that period. Fenn says yes. So we're talking early 80s. Ede says, okay, how much does it weigh? Fenn says, the gold in the treasure chest weighs 20.2 troy ounces. The chest weighs 22 pounds. So the whole thing, I think, is around 42 pounds. It was heavy enough that I made 2 trips to hide it, and I took the gold in one time, and then I took the treasure chest in the second time. People have debated that. Did he take it one time in with the treasure, and the other, I think someone else was saying the first time was a scouting trip or something? So, no, he went in 2 times, and he took, say, half a load each time of the treasure. Whether it was a chest, well, he says it was the treasure, and then it was the chest, because the chest weighs 20 pounds. It's a bronze chest. Now, this is the part that got to me a while, some time ago, and I read my own interpretation. He goes, what kind of shoes? What kind of footprints did you leave? What kind of boots did you have on? Fenn's response is, well, if I told you that, you'd go out and find it. Now, my initial impression of that, and I don't know why I got this feeling, my initial impression, hey, Belle, is he not found you, or is he going to show up right behind you? You guys are having quite a fun day, aren't you, playing tag? Where is he? He's probably wandering around the living room, doesn't even know where you are. Okay. When I first read that quote, what kind of shoes, what kind of footprints did you leave, what kind of boots did you have on? He says, well, if I told you that, you'd go out and find it. I thought, well, obviously, if he left literally footprints, since the guy said footprints, you'd know he had apparently taken his shoes off, i.e. water, right? He's been in the water. Hey, honey. So he has taken his shoes off. But we're also talking about possibly a type of boot. My next thought was, what kind of boot would be really distinctive from just regular old boots or shoes? I mean, he could have just said, well, I had tennis shoes on, and you could do virtually anything with a good pair of heavy tennis shoes. But he didn't. He said, no, that'll give it away. So then I thought, or hiking boots? You can go in the water in hiking boots. But he said, that would give it away. So I thought, well, it must be could be something very distinctive. So I thought it could be waders, or it could be some sort of rubber boot where you get that very kind of wide tread. You can, waders have a distinctive look to them. You can tell by the edges and all that of the imprint. Oh, hey, Tover. Man, it's like a cattery today in here. So anyway, that got me thinking waders. And it was only because he was so adamant about not answering what I thought was a very simple question. What kind of shoes did you have on, if any? Can't tell you. That would give it away. What could be so distinctive that it would give it away? And of course, when he says things like that, that would give it away. That could also be his way of just brushing it off. I'm not going to tell you. You'd figure it out. You know, we have to remember the context or the nuances or the emotions that we're not there, so we don't know that he wasn't just going, I don't want to tell you, give it away, you know. Anyway, so that had me a long time ago thinking about waiters, which I brought up in this meme that was people were debating. Following that, this isn't having to do with particular water or wet or moisture. He says, someone says, is there, in fact, right after that, someone says, well, is there, Forrest, any chance somebody has found it, meaning the treasure chest? And he says, I'm 99.99% sure that no one has found the treasure chest yet. You can never be 100% sure, but sure, it's still out there. I would bet my kingdom that it's still out there. This guy's kind of nosy. He goes, so, you have a substantial kingdom? Good question. When? How do you decide when to add clues? And you've done... And you have a substantial kingdom? When? How do you decide when to add clues? And you've done them how? And so on? No wonder I couldn't read it. It's kind of a weird question. Fenn says, well, there are 9 clues in my poem and 1 is in my book, and I'm not going to give any more clues. There are hints in my book that will help you with the clues, but a clue will point you toward the treasure chest, and a hint will just help you with the clues. If you can understand that. I think a lot of searchers understand what he's talking about. All right, so we're getting to the... Oh, okay, we have a little bit here. This is from June 24th of 2014. So this is going way back. A few years after the hunt started. 3 or 4 years after the hunt started. A guy named Lazaretus. Oh, this was on Dale Neitzel, it must be. Neitzel. Because he's in the interview too. Well, I'll just start with Neitzel. Oh yeah, typically you can come up with a spot. I mean, you have to. Most people think you have to be there to find the blaze. You can't figure it out until the blaze... You can't figure out what the blaze is from Google Earth or by looking at a map. You got to be there, boots on the ground, and look at the place to find the blaze. Lazaretus says, and do you have an idea what the blaze might be up here? Neitzel says, I have a couple ideas. First, a petroglyph would be a good Tiwa blaze, but I also believe a blaze might be, and I've checked this out before, a nice white streak of rock. Igneous rock coming down through sedimentary rock. I also allude to that a lot. When I'm trying to just explain an example of blaze, I go, you know, a splash of white quartz on a cliffside. That's what he's saying. And so I'm looking for something like that. I think we'll find it here because part of the Tiwa legend, folks, you'll have to look this one up on your own. I don't know about the Tiwa legend. Is that they found their rock for making arrowheads and spear points here in this place. A lot of people think it's underwater, but I don't. I don't think it's underwater. This is Dale Neitzel. I don't think it's underwater. The reason people think it's underwater is because of the high water remark. Excuse me, water high. For the same reason, some people think the blaze is a waterfall, because it would be white coming down into a river. So that leads a lot of people to think that the place, the secret spot, is beneath or behind a waterfall. Kayla Ares says, the lure of this treasure, with an estimated worth of more than $2 million, has drawn many seekers to New Mexico. Santa Fe art collector and author Forrest Fenn alludes to the treasure. The lure of this treasure, with an estimated worth of more than $2 million, has drawn many seekers to New Mexico. Santa Fe art collector and author Forrest Fenn alludes to the treasure in a self-published memoir, The Thrill of the Chase, with a poem that's said to hold several clues. Okay. Interesting, isn't it, sometimes to see your words transcribed or other people's? People sometimes talk in a very kind of you know, they don't come off as that logical, or they're never mind. Now he's released a new nugget of information in a New Mexico true story produced by State Tourism Department. And this goes back to the quote about, if I was standing where the treasure chest is, I'd see trees, I'd see mountains, and I know the treasure chest is wet. Kayla Ares says this new clue, and keep in mind, this was actually she says, released by the State Tourism Department in New Mexico. Literally, that's when he discloses for the first time the new clue that the treasure is wet. Could be a jackpot for tourism. Okay, so this is where it gets really weird for me. Or not weird. This is where it gets to me. This is where it gets for me. I'm so glad I found this. I never have seen this in the 2 years I've been doing this now. I'm going on 2 years in August. Never have seen this. Or I'm coming up 2 years in a couple of months or something. Maybe it was August and then October of 2017, right? Wait a minute. Yeah, 2 years. Okay. Hey, what's up, bud? All right. I never had seen this before, and I'm reading it now, and it's really fascinating to me because, again, let me tell you something else about virtual reality. My solve is near a river. And virtual reality now has Google Earth. I don't know if people know that. Google Earth in and of itself is pretty darn good. I mean, it gets you really down close to land, and you can look at a lot. Virtual reality, of course, adds the element of parts over 360. It depends on what has been mapped out with what kind of cameras, but virtual reality seems to get a little closer. May be wrong about that, but it's certainly, being virtual reality, it gives me a real sense of being in the area. Well, I went down and really looked at this area closely just yesterday on my Rift, or a couple days ago on my Rift, and I can't get close enough to see this quote thing that I think I'm gonna look for, but it's going to be it was almost in a way disappointing because I mean, I went down there and the area I'm looking at is not. There was nothing that stood out. There was no land features that stood out. I mean, in Dinosaur National Monument, when I went there, I had this whole facade on the side of a cliff that I thought looked like an eagle head with its wings outspread, and it looked down over this little clump of land, and I thought that clump of land. But as I found when I went out to Dinosaur National Monument and was out on the Yampa River, this clump of land was quite large, and I couldn't figure out how to get over there. Would have had to go through water. Couldn't figure out how to get down to that piece of land on the other side of the river because I saw literally no roads or anything, and I don't know if I'd have to, well, Fenn didn't take that long to get in and out. So what's the point I'm trying to make? I was a little disappointed in actually finding on virtual reality Google Earth what this area looked like, because I thought, boy, that's a lot of stuff to just walk around and look. Cause, but again, you really have to know exactly where you're going, and you have to be able to then look for the blaze. And so I'm still pursuing that, but it wasn't real. I wish I had just seen. I'm always hoping I get a map and I look at it and I see a big X. You know what I mean? That's what we're all, so to speak. That's what we all seem to keep doing. You know. Time.